Hi, I'm Ron and I'm an alcoholic. Take one. I grew up in Azusa, California, on the south side of the tracks, as they say. Anyway, yeah, my mom used to go out and go to the bars and go drinking and not come home. And my dad used to wake us up in the middle of the night and he'd go hunt them down. But my mom started drinking and out of control when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So and I don't have a lot of memories of being little and anything good, basically. So I would block it all out. My mom died when I was like 9 years old. Last time I saw her alive was in Patton State Hospital out in Highland in San Bernardino, California. And she was in a padded room. She didn't know who I was. She was grabbing spiders out of the air, grabbing bugs off of her, and she didn't even know who I was, and that was the last time I saw her alive. And all the other families on the block, the parents were together, and so naturally I'm comparing my life and my family life and everything to all my friends and all the people around me and stuff, and yeah, it was horrible. My mom would come to PTA meetings drunk, and so when I was young, I couldn't figure out why my mom, was acting this way, and when my parents fought, it was always, and it boiled down to about the kids. So I was blaming myself for this whole thing. So I was full of guilt, shame, the whole thing. I was a wreck, and I'm blaming myself for all that. My dad, finally, I never saw my mom again after that. And when I got old enough, my dad would leave us at home, and he always had a jug of Red Mountain, cheap red wine. And we got into that and drinking that, and by the time I was in junior high school, by the time I was between junior high school and high school in that summer, we started partying. It was on and it was available. And that's when my dealing drugs started when I was 12, going into freshman year. And then I got away from the drinking because the others were available, and it's like my mom was an alcoholic, so I didn't want nothing to do with it. And by then I'm hanging around with a lot of old kids. I'm 15 and the people I'm hanging around with are 21 and stuff, drinking. So I'd go drink with them in this Draw One bar, and so now I'm riding around with them, and I'm legally drinking as far as anybody's concerned. And so I started going to bars in 16, started drinking before school, started robbing the beer trucks at lunchtime when they deliver the beer, they wouldn't lock it. We'd pull up on the outside of the trucks and just start sliding cases. So I was a real criminal, drug addict, alcoholic, and so basically I didn't value my life. I didn't care if I lived or died ultimately, so I was doing crazy stuff. It didn't matter to me. And by then, that was when LSD and everything was coming around, and so we're drinking Wild Turkey, snorting PCP, and taking LSD and smoking weed all at the same time. My mental capacity was really tore up, and so the abuse went on and on. So now I'm drinking and smoking weed and getting high at work, anywhere and everywhere, and I couldn't get up and go to work unless I had some coke, because I had connections, and I started dealing cocaine because I drank all the time. So now I'm using coke every day, every morning, every night, and drinking, and that went on for years. Then I met this gal. I was getting older, and I was in my 30s now, and knockout, beautiful. She used to be a model, very beautiful, and so I didn't realize it. And she drank and stuff, and met her at the bar and stuff, and so I started seeing her. And then I started seeing she's a bad alcoholic. And so, it's like one night, we were talking and she says, yeah, I want to have a child, and I says, I do too. I think that'll straighten us out and stuff. So anyway, we have the child, and she won't stop drinking. She's flipping out all the time. And I'm working my butt off. I'm doing pipelines, for oil companies. And I come home and she's got people partying in the house and all that. So anyway, I end up telling her, you got to go live with your, I can't do this. Then so she takes off on Christmas Eve. She runs off with my daughter, and I don't know where she is for a year. She's driving by drunk, yelling stuff at me at my house, calling me drunk, saying stuff to me. And she has, a 6-month-old, my daughter. Well, Children's Services kept coming around, and I'm getting blamed for all this and everything. And I didn't, I'm an alcoholic drug addict. I don't handle problems well. That's my answer. And anyway, ultimately, I didn't handle things right at all. I just gave up. I didn't care about anything after that. And so ultimately my house was going into foreclosure. And so I put it on the market, and through the system, I wouldn't be able to go to work because they took my license away because I wasn't paying child support. So now I can't go to work anyway. So, and then you don't pay child support and you get pulled over, they throw you in jail. And so I sold my house and cleared everything out. So now I don't have a house, so I move in with my brother. And so I'm still drinking and using, even worse. I'm drowned in my sorrows and stuff. And so then my brother finally had it with me. And so he says, Ron, you got to go. So I had nowhere to go, so I ended up homeless. And so I was homeless for a while, didn't have a job, and then I got drug tested at work. They started doing the drug testing finally, and so and I came out on the hat. I got pulled out of the hat, and I tested positive. So I lost my job there, and so then I had nowhere to go. And, all the people that helped me out, that I helped out, none of them were there for me, about no sofa or no nothing. I'd be walking down the street and they'd act like they didn't even see me. This is in a town that I grew up in, and I started living with this friend of mine, and his neighbor, his mom owns a bar. And so that's how I started. I met the guy who cleaned up the bar, the Brown Barrel out there on Citrus and Arrow. And so I would clean up and help them out and stuff. And I'd drink for free, and he'd let me stay on his couch sometimes and stuff. So I was doing some couch surfing and everything. And pretty soon that got old and stuff. And so now I'm drinking from 9 o'clock in the morning, and I get this crazy idea to live on the roof of the bar. So I set that all up. There was a camper shell I got up there, a mattress, and so now I'm living on top of this bar, and I'm helping them maintain the bar and stuff after hours. And so I'm drinking from 9 in the morning to 5 in the morning. All the time. This was the bar that I lived up on the roof. Yeah, this is pretty heavy. About 16 years ago. And but yeah, I lived on the roof here for a couple years, and I used to climb up it on the dumpster and then get up on the roof, and thank God I never fell off of it. And I'd always watch to make sure, see if I could do that without people seeing me do it. I'd be out there asking for change, shaking like a leaf, getting some help, and asking people if they'd help me get well. And but most of the time I collected bottles and cans, and that's how and of course I drank in the bar for free. The beautiful thing about being homeless is that you have no responsibilities. You don't have the bills coming up. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. And it's like you don't have to answer to anybody about anything, and you're just there, doing whatever you want. And I did odd little jobs anywhere I can. I knew how to work on cars. I fixed my own cars. I built engines and stuff like that too. But behind the bar in that alley is the Salvation Army store, and where they drop things off, to donate stuff. So, and sometimes I'd get cigarettes from the guy that's working that, and everybody was just helping me out. They'd buy me food and stuff, and I'd go in there. At first, I would go in the Salvation Army and rip my clothes off, I'd change basically I'm stealing clothes from them. I used to clean up in the Superior Market over a half a block away, because you could lock the bathroom door there and they had hot water. So, I took my bird baths in there, and sponge baths. So I kept myself clean and stuff. And through all of that, that's of course, I'm pretty close to the bottom now, that's, everybody's got a bottom, but there's no way out. Once you're homeless like that, you're not getting out unless you get some help. And I was going back to down there by the bar and stuff. I still hung around down there outside the bar. And when I got there, somebody said, "Hey, Ron," he says, "the sheriffs were looking for you here." And he says, "You can't hang around here anymore." So now I'm getting kicked out of town, basically, and so there's a hamburger stand right there by the bar in that little strip mall. So I go over and I walk in there, and Alan wasn't there. Ended up being Richard, the guy who worked in the Salvation Army store back there. And I talked to all the people in the Salvation Army. A lot of them were in recovery, and go to work and stuff. So then the light bulb went on. It was the Holy Spirit, I think, that said, "Look, you're at the end of the line, There's no house at the end of this block." And so I asked him, I go, "Where's that Salvation Army at? How do I get there?" And he says, "Get on the 187 and take it all the way to Pasadena. When it comes to the end, walk south, walk down." And then I'm at the intake, right? And I got to take a test, and I'm going, "Oh, Lord, I hope I could pee clean, and stuff." And so anyway, okay, you passed. So I got the intake, and I went in there, and I stuck it out, I said, and I had to get healthy. I knew that. So now I got 3 balanced meals. I got a bed to sleep in. I'm not tempted to drink or use anywhere. And that whole time I'm praying to God, and I am asking, help me out of this. And so, this was it. And so I'm working, I'm being productive. And so it's going by. And what I did learn, you can't be in a hurry. The people that are in a hurry, when they leave, they go out. because they're not getting the full program and everything. I quit drinking, but I didn't quit smoking. So then I'd sneak out here to have a cigarette, and they started building those apartments over here. And so every day, whenever I came out here, and every day I would pray to God that it be in His will that I live in those apartments over there, Westgate Apartments. And then a bed opened up in the homeless shelter, and I ended up going into the homeless shelter, and I was very grateful for that. And they did all the background checks, all the medical surgeries I had and everything, and so yeah, I went to their doctors and everything else. And so then I ended up, they kicked me out of the homeless shelter. Now I've been there a year. You can't stay here any longer. You got money. So I'm losing it there again. And I'm going, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Old Jimmy says, don't worry, God's got something for you. And so I'm praying real hard on it and stuff. And about a week later, Martha for these apartments calls me up and says, Ron, you still want that apartment? I thought, thank you, Lord. And I've lived here ever since. What's it like now? Life is pretty good. I ended up getting jobs, again, out of my, none of my doing. Oh, I have a girlfriend for which I've had for 15 years now, 14 years. We met at the homeless shelter. But in the time that I was up at that recovery home, my girlfriend's mom handed a phone number to my girlfriend, Denise, and said, give this to Ron and have him call that because they're shooting out in Santa Anita Racetrack, this show called Luck. And she says, drop this name. I don't remember. It was a lady's name, you know. So the next day, I don't even know the name of the place or anything. And says, hello, this is Christopher Gray casting. And so I dropped that name and stuff, and he says, okay. He says, come on down. And so I started doing background acting then. And so my life is now I'm doing TV shows, right? So this is how life started going, man. And so now I'm chopping it up with Richard Kine and John Ortiz and stuff. And I registered with Central Casting, and I started getting booked out of Central Casting. I worked on Mad Men, Up All Night. So yeah, it's just life has been so good, man, but the acting kind of was tapering off. I wasn't getting booked, and I was tired of the hustle. So I start praying real hard. I'm up in my room and I'm praying, Lord, I just want a job. I want a regular job and stuff. So about 2 hours after I spent, I don't know, most of the morning praying and stuff, in between me on my laptop looking to see if I could get booked, and the phone rings. I pick up the phone and say, hey, Ron, this is Monty. That's who had the parking business. He says, you want a job? Just like that. And so, but it's smooth. Everything's smooth. I'm not saying I don't have my mental issues. I'm not saying that I don't have my moments. I'm not saying that I don't get frustrated. I'm not saying I don't have those fears anymore as a kid, because I do. I deal with them differently. Because see, that's what my testimony in my life's about. I'm here to prove to people it's never too late. I was 55 years old when I got sober. Been through emergency surgeries, bleeding inside. I couldn't stop drinking or using. Over and over, had ulcers, I broke my neck, I've broken my back, I drowned it, and luckily somebody brought me back to life. And so it's never too late. It's never too late. I got sober at 55 years old. And but you need to have a higher power, which is my higher power is the Heavenly Father God. And with Him, anything is possible. I'm living proof of that. I am living proof of that.